Yep. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live stream. Can you please just comment? Just make some comments if you can hear me clearly. Just drop some comments, drop some hearts, some reactions, so I can know that my voice is clear from the other end. Okay. Can I get some confirmations from you? All right. Amazing. Okay. Welcome everyone. We super excited to have our first webinar live on YouTube. And my name is Kenneth, and I'll try as much as possible to give you as much value as possible. Okay. So, what I would just advise everyone on the stream, please like the video, share with your other friends that would you would like to join the class because it's going to be so much value. Okay. So just make sure you're liking the stream, engaging in the comment section, share the links to others so we can have an amazing time together. Okay, once again, my name is Kenneth and I'll be taking you on this remote job training. So let's get started. Okay, so generally, why we really started this training was because let me give you the background story. Last year, I actually got my first remote job. That was around June last year. And for those of you that have read our ebook, you would see it detailed out there very clearly. So the first job I got was with a company in California, USA. And because I was being paid very well, very good job, paid very well, I felt like if I could bring in my friends into the remote job space, it was going to be very beneficial for them. So eventually, I brought in some of my friends. We schooled together, served together, brought them into the space. What I observed was they came into the space and could not survive the space. And so I took it upon myself to organize trainings and webinars so we can educate people on what's possible out there. Now, let me say this before we start the course properly. When it comes to remote job generally, if your goal is to get a remote job, this whole training we've put together is going to ensure that you get all the value you need and get the remote job as soon as possible. Okay. Now let's kick off with the basics and then we'll go into the complex matters of remote job. Okay. So the first thing is the definition. What is remote job exactly? Now, remote job generally just simply means you're working for a company and you are not in the actual location. Okay. Now, for example, the company can be in France, can be in USA, can be in Canada, wherever, but you're working from a different location that is not in the exact location where the company is located. That's why it's called remote job. That means you're not working from the actual location. Okay. And basically, let me give you some background story. I've told you on the ebooks you've read, most of you, that after the COVID 19, the world cannot remain the same. What really happened was this: most of the companies in developed countries, when the COVID came and there was this lockdown, they had to now come up with ways to do business without being in one location. So the non contact business models. And eventually, they now discover that they could also hire people from underdeveloped countries, developing countries, and pay less and still get their job done. That was why they began to ship jobs to other countries like Africa, Philippines, and the likes. Okay. And that's where remote job comes in. Okay. So if you can gather the skills that is needed to survive in the space, what will happen is you will just be on point to land your first remote job. Okay. Now, if you check this slide, I'm actually sharing with you guys, you will see number one, we have the definition of remote jobs. Number two, the dark psychology of remote jobs. I'll give you the negatives and the positive. Then we'll do how you receive payment from remote jobs. We'll do SaaS versus PaaS, and I'll share with you a very clear 1.5 year plan that will help you organize yourself even as you prepare to land your first remote job. Okay. Now, like I said initially, the dark psychology just simply means that companies in developed countries realized that they could pay lesser amounts and get their job done. That was what bettered the spree of remote job. Okay. And let me say something very, very particular, especially for those joining for the first time. Whenever I teach about remote job, my concern has never been whether you will get a job or not. My concern has always been around if you would be trained enough to get the remote job. Okay. So, as much as possible, what I'm trying to do is to ensure that you get the right knowledge, just so that if you really have the mind to get a remote job, then this platform will help you get that remote job. And just so you know, every Saturday like this will be live the same time, just to ensure that you get all the necessary help you need so that you can land your first remote job as soon as possible. Now, let me share some testimonials with you and then we'll continue. Over the 1 year period we've been taking this remote job course, like, in private sessions, we have had like 40% success rates. That means for every 10 people we train, 4 of them get a job within the first 2 months. Okay. And the recent set we just finished training, they've been having jobs back to back. Okay. So my what I would encourage you guys is, please listen, take notes, get the value, implement the value, and you just get the first remote job as soon as possible. Now, the positive side of getting a remote job is that, number one, remote job is that space where you can both learn and earn at the same time. What I mean by that is this: if you get a remote job, because you're working with companies in developed countries, what will happen is you are earning and you are learning at the same time. Okay, so that's one benefit of getting a remote job. Another benefit will be the fact that if you get a remote job, you would not need to be confined to one location. For example, when I was working in a school as a teacher, that was some years ago, I remember those days how that you want to make a journey and you have to seek for permission, all because you want to travel. So all of these things are cut out when you get a remote job, because you can be in any location and get your job done at any point in time. So that's one positive of getting a remote job. And one very important thing you need to know is that remote job pays handsomely. And what I mean by that is this: for starters in the remote job space, although you can earn as low as maybe $500 per month, $700 per month, which would equate to, if it's Nigerian currency, around 800,000 naira to maybe 1 point something million naira thereabouts for starters. And then as you keep growing in the space, you go to $1,000, $2,000, and thereabouts. Okay, so this should be the expectations when it comes to getting remote job and how you get paid in a remote job. Okay, so remote job pays more than the regular average job. Okay, and also another beautiful part of remote job is when you compare software as a service versus platform as a service. Now, remote job is beautiful because, let me give you a hint, everyone on this call, because one of my goals for the students I train is, I'm looking forward to a time where you will not just have a remote job, but learn how to build digital systems from the scratch. Okay. Now, let me give you some statistics. Okay. We have over 4 billion people on the internet. Over 4 billion. That means literally everybody you want to do business with are on the internet. Okay. So when you get a remote job, all it does is that it shows you the model that does business online, so that you can make the entire people on the internet as your marketplace. So that's one beautiful thing about remote job. You learn how to build systems that will stand the test of time. And now, super important, this is where you want to take notes. And so far so good, because I want to be sure everyone is following on this call. If you've been following the teaching so far, just comment. Yeah, like following. I just want to see some comments. Just write following on the comment section, so I can be sure that everybody is super clear and you can hear me very clear from the other end. Just type following on the comment section and I will know that you've been following the teaching very clearly. Okay. Now, my 1.5 year plan for you is this: when you start learning about remote job, okay, amazing. Thanks for the comments. When you start learning about remote job, what I want from you is this: please don't apply immediately. Okay. What I want from you is, I want you to first of all pay the price to learn. So if this is your first time on our live stream, Make a commitment that for the next 3 months you will be learning. And what I'm going to do for you guys is I will give you as much value as possible. We have ebooks, we have everything for you to make sure you find success. And if not because I'm on live stream, I would have shared my screen with you. We finished the last cohorts about maybe a few weeks ago, let's say a month ago. And just yesterday, somebody posted on the chat that he has gotten his first remote job and they've paid him actually in dollars. What I'm saying is these things are real. And so please make sure you're following so that you can get all the value and see how to change your life as much as possible. Okay. Now, my 1.5 year plan for you will be this. When you first hear about remote job, I want you to make up your mind to learn. Let me give you my own back end story. How I got into the spaces. For those of you that know me personally, I actually studied biochemistry, had a first class in biochemistry, was the best in my faculty. Now, after studying biochemistry, I discovered that biochemistry alone could not solve my problems. Okay, I was able to get a few jobs here and there. Eventually, I now found out about the remote job space, and literally, now this is where it gets serious. I was literally studying from like morning till like maybe 1 a.m., 12 midnight every day for like 3 months, just so I can gather enough information to start applying. I took up courses with people like Coursera, Allison, watch YouTube videos, and I'm going to share with you every material I studied just so you can find as much value as possible. So that was what I actually did from my own end, took up courses, and eventually, when I started applying, I got like 4 jobs within my first 2 weeks of applying. Okay. Now, let me also tell you one thing I'm going to do for you eventually. I'll show you exactly how to apply for jobs and get the jobs as soon as possible. There's a hack to it. I'm going to give you every information you're going to be needing. Okay. So the first 3 months, make sure you are learning, learn. Then after that, the next 6 months after you've learned, I will show you how to get jobs with startup companies. Okay, with startup companies, so that you can start up from smaller companies. Now, what will happen is that when you get those kind of jobs, you will easily grow and rise in the ranks. And after that, you can now switch to top rated companies. Now, when you do these 3 things, you would have been equipped to build systems for yourself. And then eventually, you can now see how to build systems for yourself eventually. Okay. Now, very important. All right. Um, Super excited for those following and subscribing to the channel. Make sure you're liking and subscribing, and as much as you're getting values. Okay. Now, the next I want to show you is this. Now, this is where it gets serious. Okay. Now, look at the chart here. Okay. This thing you see on the screen right now is called the online sales process. Okay. Now, this online sales process is worth bet remote job in the first place. Okay. Now, let me explain it to you in details. Number one, whenever you see a company out there, the first thing that was done in that company is called and brought out an idea to start a company. Okay. Now, the next thing is product creation. Now, once a product is created, the first thing that you want to look into is called lead generation. Okay. Now, from lead generation down to customer and tech support, these are all job openings. Okay. Now, let me explain to you this. It's number one. Lead generation just simply means that aspect of remote job that teaches you to generate leads for companies. Let me explain that to you. Okay. A lead simply means somebody that is interested in buying a product or qualifies to buy a product. Okay. Let me explain. A lead simply means somebody interested in buying a product or qualified to buy a product. Let me give an example. Let's assume I want to go into car business and I choose to only sell Mercedes Benz, for example. Now, I will not go and gather secondary school teachers, and say these are people that I'll advertise my product to and all that. That's because those people does not qualify to buy that product, so they are not leads for that business. Leads means people that qualify. Okay. And now, please, if you're taking notes, this is where to start taking notes serious, because these are terminologies you speak in the space that gives you authority in the platform. Okay. Now, every company has what to call ideal client profile, or we call it avatar. Okay. They would say that, okay, for somebody to be an ideal client, they must be in this location, have this category of, status and all that. Now, what we do in remote job space is that we have tools, and I'm going to teach you all of these tools like apollo.io, tools like, Apify, tools like Lead Magic, tools like just all of those lead generation tools. I'm going to show you how it works. Now, and that's what we use to generate leads in the platform. Okay. So every company on earth need leads. For example, if you say company that does insurance, they need leads. Companies that sell real estate, they need leads. Company that are into automobiles, whatever it is, they need leads. Leads just means people that are interested in getting a product or qualifies to buy that product. So every company on earth need leads. Okay. So if you can generate that leads online, it's actually a remote job skill that is needed. And in the next teachings, that will be next weekend, I'll show you guys exactly how you can find those jobs online, and I'll show you how to get those jobs actually. So for now, I'm just trying to give you an overall gist so you can prepare your mind. So that first skill is called lead generation. Okay. And like I said, every company needs lead. Now let me come again one more time so we can be on the same page. So we start doing the actual skill itself, where I show you how to play around Apollo, Apify, Lead Magic. Would not be confused at that point in time. Okay. Lead just simply means anybody that qualifies or is interested in buying a particular goods or services. And like I said, every company on earth need leads, and every company has what to call ideal client profile. So if the company gives you their avatar or ideal client profile, you now go ahead and give them those leads. They pay you handsomely for getting those leads. That's number one skill to learn. Now, number two job opportunity I'm going to be teaching you guys is under appointment setting. Now, when you get those leads for the company, there are some group of persons that will be the ones to set the appointment. Okay. Now, how we do it in the online space, and by the way, let me remind you, I mentioned something like software as a service. Okay. What it just means is all the softwares we use, like Apollo, HubSpot, Zendesk, Freshdesk, and all that, just to ensure that we are actually meeting the entire sales process. Okay. Now, for appointment setting, one of the kind of jobs you can see here is called cold calling. Now, there are two kinds of telemarketing we have. We have what we call outbound and inbound. Let me explain. Whether it's outbound or inbound will be determined by the kind of leads that you generate. For example, let's assume you put out your service to the public, and then people in the public see what you do, and then they want to reach out to you in the company. That's called inbound because it's coming from the public into the company. Those are inbound leads. Okay. Now, those are also called warm leads because if anybody sees an advert in the public and then they call you and say, hey there, I'm interested in getting this product, this service, they're going to be warm on the phone because they trust you at that point. They need your service at that point. Okay. But the opposite will be that you just go randomly and get these leads and you are now contacting them for the first time. That's called cold calling because you expect them to be cold on the phone. Okay. So you are calling out. Let me give an example. One of the first job I got was with an insurance company. In that company, it was like a B2C environment. Now, by the way, B2B means business to business, while B2C means business to the customers. Okay. So that was like a B2C environment. Okay. So what we did then was you just call these leads like, hi there, is this Betty? Yeah, this is Betty. How you they are the ones reaching out to you. So under appointment setting, it could either be cold calling or warm calling, or you can also say it as this way: inbound calls, outbound calls, cold calls, warm calls. If you're calling from the company to the public, outbound calls. Cold calls, they should be cold on the phone. Why? Because they've never heard about your product. Now, let me give you two gist about cold calling. For example, if you want to make quick money in remote job space and you don't want to go through the stress of applying for hundreds and hundreds of jobs, what you should do in that situation is you can start off with the route of cold calling. And that's because many people don't want to cold call. People that know about remote jobs, that's the job they run away from the most, okay? Because they feel like it's stressful to speak on the phone, to convince people, it's kind of stressful. But if you can pay the price and get the job done, then I can recommend for you cold calling. That was the first kind of job I actually did, and it's paid me a lot of money, okay? So you can start off with cold calling if that works for you, okay? Now, under appointment setting, we also have things like email marketing. Now, in email marketing, what we are doing at this point is we are blasting emails out to the leads we generated so that they can book an appointment with us and then we can close the deal. Okay. Now, just so you know, it is called appointment setting because we are trying to book an appointment with the closers. Let me show you how it works. Generally, in the remote job space, when you see online companies, how they built it is that when you reach out to the public, then the public shows you interest, you now book an appointment with them. Now, there are specially trained people called the closers. Their own job is to meet the people that book appointments and then close that deal. And that's how they make their money. Okay. So, under appointment setting, you are not closing the deal. All you're doing here is making sure they qualify and then transferring them over to the closers. They will now be the one to close the deal. So you can use tools like Lemlist, Mailchimp, and don't be discouraged about these strange names. I'll show you how every one of these things works because that's why we are here, okay? And like I said, every Saturday, same time we are here. We are here to show you how remote job works and help you as much as possible. If you're still following, just comment following so we can know that you're actually following the course. Very, very important. Just so we know that you're there actually listening and getting value from the webinar. Okay. All right. So that's another job opportunity, like I said. Now, the next one will be closing the deal. Under closing the deal, what this kind of job requires is that you are specially trained to close deals. What I mean by that is this. Let's assume, for example, um, you actually, you know, work with appointment setting team, and then they book an appointment. So your own job will be to meet with those that are interested, and then you shut down the deal. Okay, so that's what closing the deal actually means. Okay. Now let me go to the next thing I'm going to be. By the way, I'm just giving you guys like an overview of what's possible in the space. I will now take them one by one eventually, show you the skill you need to learn, teach you the nitty gritty. Now, let me say something very, very bold on this course. Everybody listening, please and please understand that the only way you can pay us back for our time and the value we are giving is to ensure you follow and actually get remote jobs. Okay. We want to see stories of people that we are teaching in secondary schools, earning maybe 40,000 naira thereabouts, start earning maybe like a million naira. That would just be the reward for the effort we put. And so far, so good. We've helped quite a good number of persons. And now we are making it public. Okay. So to give value to the public as much as possible. This is our own 2 cents contribution. So please value the course and get all the value you can get. Okay. And like I said, let me remind you one more time, always share the live stream, like the live stream so that more and more people can see the live stream. By next Saturday, I want to see us reaching 100 people on the live stream and keep moving on. And if you're on this live stream, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, notification bell, so that you can always be notified when we come live every Saturday. Okay. Now, the next skill here will be data analysis and business development. Okay. Now, for data analysis, we're going to be showing you guys how to play around data to make decisions for companies. And for business development, let me make this clear to you. Now, please, everyone on this call, I want to encourage you to learn everything we're doing, because for business development, you have to be good with every one of these steps to be a business development specialist. Okay. Now, you could just pick up lead generation and run with it, and you can get some jobs off it. You can pick cold calling, run with it, inbound call, run with it, data analysis. But if you can learn everything we're going to be teaching you, it's going to make you balance, because you have every like, how will I put that? It's going to make you more balanced because you have all the information necessary to survive in the space. And then for project management, then we have customer support and tech support. Now let me say something to the ladies, all the ladies on the call. This customer support is what ladies love a lot. Let me tell you how it works. Okay, let's assume, for example, you go to the bank, for example. Let's assume you go to First Bank. Now you will see people sitting down on special chairs just to attend to your problems. Let's assume your ATM stops working, or maybe your account was frozen, whatever it is. There are people positioned to help you resolve that issue. Those guys are called customer support agents. Okay. Now, every company has what we call customer support agents. Okay. Now, let me give you some terminologies used here. Things like SOP, KPIs, SLA. Let me explain that to you. SLA just means service level agreement. That means every company, when they get new clients onboarded, they have what we call a service level agreement with those clients or partners. Okay. Now, what happens is there is a minimum level of service they've promised that we're going to offer to you guys. Now, if any of them is breached, what will happen is that those people will bring a complaint to the company, and then it's now the duty of the customer support agent to resolve that complaint. For example, you may get a job with a software company, for example, and then the software company powers other businesses that let's have HubSpot, for example, that many business use, for example. If, for example, HubSpot is down, what will happen is every business begin to complain and say, okay, we cannot access HubSpot and all that. Those people resolving the tickets, by the way, ticket just means the complaint coming from the public. Those people resolving the tickets are called customer support agents. Okay, so how that job looks like is you're just there resolving tickets, solving people's problem. That's what customer support is all about. Okay, so it's also a job opportunity that you can learn. And for all of this, I'll give you additional websites. I'll give you all the website. And please, let me say something very, very important here. Don't pay any site money to learn anything. I'll show you how to survive the space free of charge. Okay, I'll show you how to maneuver your way around everything until you start applying and get remote job. And finally, here we have technical support. This is a skill where you solve people's problem, like, like their technical issues and all of that. Okay, now let's go to the next thing I want to show you guys. Okay, now this is where the training actually begins for you. And by the next class, I will share my screen in such a way that you can see me do things live, so you can coordinate and learn how everything works out. Okay, now the first thing I will teach you guys, basically under this training, like I said, I'm giving you like a general overview today. Okay, I'm going to first teach you guys how Google Workspace applies to remote job settings. Okay, now Google Workspace is more like the benchmark for measuring tech savviness. What I mean by that is this: you cannot qualify to get any remote job if you don't know how to use Google Workspace. Okay, so Google Workspace is more like the benchmark for measuring tech savviness. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to use Google Workspace, from Google Meets down to Google Calendar. But let me just give you more like an overview for now, so you can have like a rough, gist in your head. Now, one of them is called Google Drive. Google Drive is where you store every file you're going to be using. Your Google Sheets, Google Slide, Google Documents, everything is stored on a place called Google Drive, more like your wallet. Okay, I'm going to show you how to upload, download, and what we call permission levels. Now, let me give you 3 hints and then we'll go on. Okay, generally, in remote job space, there is so much collaborations going on. So let's assume, let me use a random example here. I can see Joseph on the live stream. Joseph, yeah, Joseph, is it Imando thereabouts? Now, Joseph, for example, let's assume I want to share a file with you in the remote job setting. My question now will be, what does Joseph needs this file for? Okay. Now, that will now determine the permission level I will give to you, Joseph. Okay. It could either be viewers permission, editor's permission, or commenter's permission. Okay. So let's assume that data I'm sharing with you, I just want you to view that data. What it means is that I'm going to give you viewers permission. Okay. If I'm sharing something with you and I need you to make your input, then that's going to be editor's permission. Now, one of the questions you can be asked on an interview is that, how will you protect our company's data? One of the answers to give is that I will give collaborators the most minimum permission they need to get their job done. So the answer is, I will give collaborators the most minimum permission they need to get their job done. Okay, so this is how to answer that question anytime it comes up on an interview. I will give collaborators the most minimum permission. So, for example, let's assume we have a data that I'm sharing to the public, and I just want them to view that data. I'm giving them viewers permission. Okay, if I'm sharing a data that I need them to comment, edit, blah blah blah, then that will be editor's permission. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, now, so I'll teach you how to use Google Drive to upload. Upload means you are uploading from your system to the drive. Okay, I see Onu Linus on the chat. You're welcome. Happy to have you around again. Yeah, like it's like a recurring face. And thanks for the message on the chat. Okay, good to have you around. Okay, now upload means you're transferring from your drive up to the cloud. Okay, download means from the cloud back to your system. Okay, so that's upload, download. Okay, so on Google Drive you could upload, download, and please, everybody on this call, I want you guys to start revamping your CVs, okay, so that you can upload all of these details on your drive. Let me give you a story. When I applied for my first remote job, and let me give you a background story before I tell you about how I applied for my first remote job. When I was applying for a remote job, my goal was not, let me go and try out whether I will get a job or not. That was not my goal. My goal was, I have to get a remote job. That was the goal for applying in the first place. Okay. So I was applying back to back application until I got my first remote job. Okay. Now, something very, very important here is this. When you are applying for a job, ensure you have all your documents saved on your drive. For example, during the interview, they asked me to send them my resume live on the interview. Okay, so please ensure you have your resume saved on your drive so you can give it out whenever they ask for it. Very, very important. Okay, now other things under Google Workspace are things like Google Sheets, Google Documents, and the rest of them. For Google Sheets, what we use that to, we use that to, um to put in data and manage data. Okay, so data management can be done on Google Sheets. Okay, so that's what we use Google Sheets for. And by the way, on Google Sheets you can also collaborate. What I'm going to do on the next class is, I'm going to create a sheet for you guys and share the link with you so you guys can play around Google Sheets so you can see how it works live. Okay, so don't worry about that. I'll show you how that works exactly. Okay, then for emails, I'll show you how to set your signature on emails and how to write official emails having your subject, your main body, and everything required to write a successful email. I'll show you Google Slides, Google Documents, and everything on Google Workspace. Okay, so don't worry about that. I'll make sure I teach you as much as possible. Okay, now just comment following to be sure that we are still on the same page. Let me be sure that, like, I'm not losing you guys. Okay, and I can start entertaining questions right now. If you have questions, type them on the chat. Type them, type them, type them, so that I can answer your questions. Okay? Yeah, very, very important. Give me a moment. Do. So you can ask your questions, very, very important, so we can coordinate together. Okay? Let me see. Da. Sorry, I'm trying to double check this. Trying to get back to the comments. I can see the comments live. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. Okay, so you can start typing your questions on the chat as we keep teaching. As soon as I see your question on the chat, I'll ensure to answer you ASAP. Okay, all right. That being said, let's go to the next part of the discussion. And like I said initially, Google Workspace is the benchmark of measuring tech savviness. Is there any kind of workstation available anywhere in Ogun? For now, all we do currently, we teach the courses online. Okay, so everything I'm going to be doing is online and all that. And yeah, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us if you need further assistance. Okay, yeah, but for now, all our classes are actually online. So guys, ask your questions, type it on the chat. As I see them, I'll be answering your questions. Okay, so that I don't lose any of you guys. Okay. Now let's go to the next slide. Very important. Now look at this very carefully. There are some important things I'll be showing you guys about remote job. Okay, I'll show you how to use AI in a way you've never seen before. ChatGPT has never seen before. Yeah, it's going to be every week. I'm going to be live every week, the same time on Saturdays, every week, to ensure I give you new values. Because yeah, for Joe that asked the question, every week I'm going to be live with you guys, answering your questions, giving you values, until you are strong enough to get remote jobs as much as possible. Okay, so feel free to share the live with others. Want to see over 100 persons next week on this live call. Okay, right. So I'm going to show you how to use AI as it applies to the remote job space. Okay. Secondly, I'll also show you CRMs. Okay. Now let me explain this in a bit for you guys. Okay. CRM just simply means customer relationship management. Let me come again. CRM means customer relationship management. What it means is that the entire process you use to manage a customer from the point of first contact till they become your client and you keep supporting them is called CRM. Okay, so we have softwares that facilitates this process. Softwares like HubSpot, Zendesk, Freshdesk, and the rest of them. So all of these softwares are softwares that support the CRM process, okay, from the first contact down to the customer service, okay. That's what CRM actually means, okay. So I'll show you different CRMs, but those taking notes, just taking of things like HubSpot, Salesforce, Zendesk, Freshdesk, and I'm going to show you how to use them and how to apply them in the remote job settings, okay. And I will show you permission levels and data security. I told you before now how that on an interview, they may ask you a question like, yeah, so tell us how you protect our company's data. One of the answer will be that I will give collaborators the most minimum permission they need to get their job done. And then second answer will be that you password your laptop and all of that kind of information. Okay. Now, look at this very, very important. Now, this is a very, very important segment of the course. Okay. Um, there's a question here that says, starting out as a remote worker, one major problem is reliable connection and electricity. Okay, yeah. I think this should be from Steve. Okay, Steve, that's a very, very valid point. Okay. Well, let me give you my story and then we'll go on with the teachings. Okay. Now, let me share something with you very, very practical. Personally, I'm a kind of person that when I want to go into something for the first time, I try to remove every barrier from the way. When I saw that it was possible to get a remote job, what I did was this. There was a particular E3 very close to my house. I would go there, charge my laptop, work there for some time until I was able to get a solar system set up in my house and all that. What I'm saying is, whatever barrier there is, you can always overcome them if you really want to go into the space. Okay. And When it comes to internet issues, you can always get a router, check for the best internet in your area, get a reliable internet, and get a backup internet. Okay, that's how to survive the plant. Okay, so very important. You can always play around those issues. Okay, so Steve, don't let that discourage you. You can always play around that. Okay, now I'm going to show you something very important here, and that is platforms where you can apply for remote jobs. Okay, one of them is Upwork. Okay, now let me give you some general gist, and then I would go on to the next thing, and then we'll continue from where we stopped. Okay, now one thing I observe generally is that if you follow my teachings very carefully, you can get a job, let's say, um, maybe under 2 months after learning everything I'm going to teach you. Okay, and that's because I'm going to show you the kind of jobs to apply for starters. Okay. Now there's a question here that says, how does one get a well-paid remote job? Now, very, very easy. First of all, learn what I'm going to be teaching you right now, and I'll show you how to enter into the space. Now, you will not start from a very high paying job, okay? If you're in Nigeria, the equivalent could be like 800,000 naira in a month, 900,000 naira in a month, maybe some 1 million naira. But as soon as you keep learning and rising in the ranks, then you can now start getting jobs of two and above and thereabout, okay? So that's how it works generally, okay? But first of all, how to get a well-paid remote job is learn. Now, let me say something very, very important. I have interviewed a very high number of people. My concern has never been whether there are jobs there or not. People qualified to get remote jobs are very, very, very few. Very, very few. Let me give an example. There were days where I would do interviews for like maybe 1 day plus, 2 days plus, and you don't even get one qualified person. Okay, so let me even tell you how jobs look like in the first place. Whenever you see a job posting out there, it means that there is a company that is in need to solve a particular problem. Now, the challenge we're having now is people hardly, you know, people hardly fit into the solution for that company. Okay. Now, uh, before I continue answering your question, I see a question that says, "Is this class recorded so we can go over the class over and over again for mastery? And aside that, can we start with our phones or it must be system?" Okay, let me answer this question, then I can go back with this other one that takes my time. First of all, the class is recorded because it's on YouTube. So as soon as we finish the live session, it will populate and be there under the live. Just go to the live section, you see the videos there. Then when it comes to using a phone or system, you can use your phone to learn. But when you start applying for remote jobs, as like I'm going to teach you eventually, when you get those jobs, you have to use a laptop for the job. There is no legit proper job that you can do with a phone, not one. Anybody that says work with a phone from anywhere in the world, they are not being sincere to you. There is no one legitimate job that you can do with a phone, none whatsoever. So if you're going to get a legitimate job, it has to be with a laptop. Okay, very, very important. Okay, and like I was saying about getting a well-paid remote job, my concern has always been the fact that people are under-skilled. So I'm appealing to everyone on this live stream right now, because if you've stayed on this stream up till this point, it is because you are interested in learning, getting value. Please and please make sure you are learning. Make sure you are learning, because, like I said, I have promised myself that everything I know about the remote job space, I'll pour out everything to you guys. Like, I'm going to show you everything, how the space works, how the system works, everything you need to know to find value and survive the space. And let me give you one thing for free. Why I'm doing this is because personally, getting a remote job changed my finances a lot. And I think if anybody here is going to get help by learning these things, then why not? If not, okay. Now somebody says, how can I accelerate my growth to get a remote job in 2 months? Okay. Well, if you really want to be very, very fast, faster than you know the general classes we do, you can chat David up. He may give you insight into our in-house course we do. We have an in-house course we do. Just that one is not online, just offline and all that. But if you can wait for the live stream, can be giving out the value every Saturdays and all that. So whatever works for you. If you want the paid version, you can tell David. He will join you to the next cohort. But if not, we're still going to give you value online. So whichever works for you, that's fine. Okay. Just that in-house is more practical. We are fewer in numbers, like 40 of us, show you some nitty-gritties and all that. Conversation, live chats, you're talking back to me, I'm talking back to you, and all. That's just a difference, nothing more than that, okay? But if you don't have the money to pay, why not? If not, just take up the live streams, invite your friends, and we'll give you the value here. No big deal about that, okay? All right. Now, one of the platforms you can apply for jobs on is called Upwork. And I'll show you how to use Upwork. Please and please, don't just watch this live stream and just go and start applying randomly. You will waste your time and waste your connect, okay? Now, I'll show you how to filter the kind of jobs you qualify for and how to use the platform correctly. And then I'll show you interview role plays, okay? Now, let me give you a general gist for free. Why most people don't get remote job is because they don't know how to show up for interviews. They go to interviews and they do the interviews as though they are doing a regular interview. Let me give you a tip for free. For example, let's assume you shop for an interview and somebody introduces himself as, okay, hi there, my name is Kenneth, the sales manager at Picasso AI, and I just want to have a conversation to see if you're a good fit for the company. And you now be like, yeah, good morning, sir. Now you've bluffed already, okay? Now in remote job space, nothing like sir, ma, what have you. It's just, hey there, how are you? Hey Ken, how are you? Call people by their first name and all that. And I will show you how to answer questions on this section of interview role play. I'm going to show you in real time how to get these things done, okay? Things like when I ask a question like, can we meet you? What do you say at that point in time? Okay, just for the record, so you can have some gist before we get into it properly. At that point, can I meet you means tell us why, if we don't employ you, we are making the biggest mistake in the world. That's what can I meet you actually means, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do interviews. Now, by the way, I personally believe that if you don't want to employ me, don't interview me, okay? So I can show you how to get interviews and do it, smash it 100% of the time, okay? And then I'll show you again the strategic 1.5 year plan, which I actually designed for you guys, okay? Now, generally, before I take your questions, let me recap once again. First of all, I appreciate every one of you for joining this live stream today. The live stream is here. We're going to be doing it every Saturday. And the goal is to ensure that everybody is well trained about getting a remote job. Okay. So feel free to tell your friends about the live stream, tell your contacts. And whenever you're on the live stream, please make sure you're commenting, liking the videos, asking your questions so we can find ways to help you as much as possible. Okay. Now, before I do some recap, you can ask your questions whilst I go back and do one or two recap, and then we can call it a day for today. Okay. Recap. Ask your questions on the chats. If you have issues, concerns, let me know so I can address them. Okay. Okay. For those of you learning from YouTube, I can't really tell how long the course will last, but I'll make sure it doesn't go beyond, I don't know. I can't really tell, but not more than, I don't know. But as soon as we're done, we're going to take it bit by bit. As soon as we're done, you will know when you're ready to apply. Okay. So, Daniel, don't worry about that. We're going to take it bit by bit. Every Saturday, we're here, same time, same channel, bit by bit by bit. When we're done, you will feel confident and then you can start applying. Okay. Yeah. So, super important. And Daniel, does that answer your question? Just let me know on chat so I will be sure that it actually helps you. Any other question before I do some recap and then give you some motivation and then we call it for today? Any other question? Ask your questions so I can help you as much as possible, okay? Any other question? Ask all the questions in the world so we can answer them and then I give you some recap and then we can call it for today. Any other question? Any other question? Okay, let me go back to do some recap before we call it for today. Um, so once again, y'all welcome to this class. This is Spring Circle Solution, and the whole idea is to ensure that we give you all you need to know to land remote jobs. Okay, and like I said initially, for those of you that came in late, I explained to you guys how that. Okay, before I continue my recap, Esther Jimbo is asking, will there be projects of any kind um as well, okay, as we learn? Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. As we learn, I'll give you projects. You're going to be creating Google Sheets yourself, Google Document yourself. You're going to be, like, scraping out leads yourself on apollo.io, apollo.com. I'm going to give you like four different platforms to learn. um Things like Coursera. I'm going to tell you the course to pick up there, Google Skill Shop, several projects. Okay, so it's a very long ride, Esther, and this is the best time to invite your friends, your colleague, because we're just getting started. I know by the time we are on the fourth live stream, we'll be like maybe like 200, 500, 1000, who knows. So let them come in on time so we can all ride on together. Okay, yeah, so there'll be projects of various kinds, just so you know that. Okay, yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yep. Any other question, any concern, any worries, just let me know. Any concern, any question, any worries. I want to do some recap and then we can um conclude for today. Okay, all right, let me just do some recaps before any other question jumps into the chat. Once again, like I said, COVID-19 changed the world. The world can never remain the same. And okay, I'm going to recap that, Daniel. Okay, I'm going to recap that for you, Daniel. Okay. Before I recap what Daniel is asking, what niche on the remote job space would we be focusing on and all that? Okay, I told you initially how that companies in developed countries have learned how to do business without being in one location. Okay, so just to answer your question, Daniel, every one of the sales process. I mean, for the customer lifeline, from getting the leads. Now, let me recap it. Let me put it this way. I told you before now that every company on earth, they need leads. Leads means people that qualifies to buy a product. Okay. For example, if you open a school now, you need students as your leads. If you open a car shop, you need people that can buy the vehicle. If you open a hospital, you need patients. Okay. So leads just means people that qualify to buy a product. Okay. So your ability to generate leads for companies is called a skill on its own. So that's one way to get remote job. Okay, knowing how to use tools like apollo.io, apollo.com, and all that. Knowing how to use those tools is one of the skill sets you can learn. Okay, now when companies get these leads that fit into their avatar, the next thing is people are there contacting the leads. Some people call the leads themselves. That's called cold calling. That's a job on its own. There are some leads that the leads are the ones that call the company. That's called inbound calls. That's a job on its own. There are people that do email marketing. They blast emails out every day. That's a job on its own. Now, when those leads are contacted and appointments are booked, there are people that their own job now will be that they are the ones closing those deals. That's a job on its own. Okay. Now there are people now that their own job would that be that whenever these people that are closed have a problem with the company, they solve the problem. Like if you go to a bank, for example, there are people that you give them your ATM and they can help you change your PIN, open your ATM. If you have any issues, those are customer support agents. Okay. So these are all different skills you can learn and how to do it in a remote job space and get paid for it. Okay. So for those of you looking for the niche we are studying, we are looking at everything at a glance, bit by bit, so you can see the one that works best for you. Let me give you an example. If you're a very quiet person that wants to be in your corner, in your shell, you don't like to interact with people, you can just go into lead generation and master it. If you're like me that loves to communicate, loves to connect with people and all that, you can go into sales and all that. If you love to help people, You can go into customer support if you are very technical support. Okay, you can just learn. And by the way, every company on earth needs each of these to run successfully. Okay, so if you're looking for the niche, this is how it get done. Okay, and somebody's asking, what is the fastest skills I can learn to land a remote job in 6 weeks? Now, I want to beg every one of you that please and please don't be in a hurry. It takes 3 months to prepare yourself to land your first job, and that's because 3 months to give you the time to learn the skills and prepare mentally for facing interview sections. Now, it's not just applying for the jobs, okay? You must know how to choose the right jobs, apply, and how to show up on interviews. And I'm going to teach you all of that, okay? So please don't be in a hurry. It may take you between, let's say, anywhere between 10 to 12 weeks to get ready to actually apply. So 6 weeks looks too small. Let's just say 10 to 12 weeks, you should be ready to apply for your first remote job, okay? Yep. So for Freedom Yande asking this question, just prepare for 10 to 12 weeks. You should be all set to apply for your first remote job. Okay. Yep. So any other question, any concern, any worries, before I do my final recap and then I'll let you guys go. Any issues, any concern, any question, raise them now so I can help you out with them so we can be on the same page. Any question, any concern, any issues? Okay, let me end with my own story finally, and then I'll let you guys go for today since there are no other questions on the chat. But by the way, if you've gotten value from this webinar for today, just type "I've gotten value." I love to get feedback because I want to just be sure that you guys are being helped. Okay, whilst I do my final recap and my motivations for you for today, just type I'm getting value or getting value, just so I can know that you're actually getting value from this webinar. Okay. My final recap for you today would be that personally, when I heard about remote job, nobody was there to guide me, nobody was there to teach me, nobody was there to show me the way. I had to find out everything from the scratch. Okay. And I told you how that when I was working for a company in USA, I brought in my friends into the company. When they came into the company, what really happened was I they really did not survive the space because you know, they were not really trained. Okay, I have a friend that came into Slack. He doesn't know how to use Google Calendar. He was missing meetings, missing trainings. He didn't even know how to even use the nothing whatsoever. And then eventually, he lost the job. Okay, that was why we started these trainings in the first place. And the only way you can pay me back for this training is learn, and please, please, please ensure you land a remote job. Super, super important. Okay. For me, when I was going to this space, it was either a yes or a yes for me. I told myself that I must get that remote job. Okay. So very, very, very important. Okay. And I love this statement that Daniel just sent to the chat. It's really necessary not to be in a hurry because even in the academic section, we have classes to attend, assignment to do, and test to write, exam to pass before being promoted to the next level. Super important, okay? So please and please and please, it is true what Daniel is saying. You need to be patient, okay? You need to learn. Don't be in a hurry, okay? If you're patient, I'm going to give you all the value. I'm ready to pour out all my mind to you guys, teach you everything I know. And the only way to reward me is get to learn, apply for the jobs, secure a high paying job, and change your own life. Okay. That's all we are after. That's why we are here to give you value for free. So just wish us well as we get on this track. Okay. And finally, my final appeal for you guys is ensure if you subscribe to this channel, ensure to like this video before leaving so we can keep growing the channel and helping you as much as possible. Okay. That'll be all from my end today. Let's just have an amazing weekend. We'll see next week, same time. And for next week, prepare for a 2 hours lecture, or let's say 1 hour, 30 minutes lecture thereabout. Okay. So we can kick start the training properly. I just introduced you guys to the training today just to whet your appetite, show you what's possible and all that. By next week, we'll start the training properly, and then we can, see what we are taking from there. Okay. So thank you very much, guys. Happy to have you guys on this live stream. everyone on the chats, Freedom, Daniel, you know, um, Joe Kabi, Sani Bidemi, RS Samuel, Samuel Inamdi, I think so and says one on one with Olu, Daniel Shaibu, Esther Jimbo, Steven, everyone on the call, Ojo, Daniel, Kate Z, can't pay something like that, Joe, everyone, Lola. Happy to have you guys on the chats. Okay. Let's just have an amazing weekend. Thank you very much. Okay. We'll see next week. Let's enjoy the rest of our day. Okay. Just say some, nice words and then we can end for today. We'll see next week, same time, same location. Let your friends know about it so we can have a larger class next Saturday. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Happy to have you around. My name is Kenneth. We'll see you next Saturday. Peace out, everyone. Thank you.